to brand yourself, because he has a very interesting background and a very interesting journey. And I actually met Benny through Ilim, who's become a friend of mine over the years that I've been pestering her about my entrepreneurial ideas. And we met a few times and we haven't really exchanged many words, but I have looked up quite a lot of information about your past, because it's a kind of interesting past. And so I basically pestered Benny on Facebook and asked him if he would come and speak. And after a really long message of me pestering him, I got one reply, which was, okay. Basically, just one reply.
I'm a man of a few words.
This should be interesting. It's a man of a few words and a woman of many words. Let's see if we can get at least 1 or 2 words in. So I'm going to hand the mic over, because I'd really like Benny to share a little bit about his journey. How do you want to do it? You want to tell a little bit about the story?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I run a chain of restaurants, 5 at the moment, 5 restaurants. It's called 18 Chefs. And the nearest one is just across the road here at Sydney Leisure, 4th floor. I just came and with my own cup of water, and then with you guys here. And I got 2 more outlets coming up by end of the year. So what makes my restaurant so different from others is we hire a lot of ex-convicts, drug addicts and the street kids. So you might ask, why do I want to run a restaurant hiring this group of people? You know, to hire normal people, you might not be able to make it. And to hire this group of people is a bit risky. So I will share a little bit about, you know, when I was about 16, 17 years old, I was already started to meddle with drugs. By the age of 18 and 19, I was hardcore heroin addict. Spent 10 years of my life in and out of prisons, rehab center, and I thought my life is going to be like this, you know, go in, come out, and then back on drugs again, and go inside prison again, come out. So it was about, I spent at least 10 over years of my younger days in and out of prison. And I remember in 1993, when I was released from prison, I told myself, hey, enough is enough. I don't want to get into, I don't want to go back to prison. I just don't want to, you know, it's not a good place to stay. And I told myself, I just want to be a normal person, normal Singaporean. Chasing the Singapore dream, I still, you know, I still want to chase the Singapore dream, you know. And what I mean by a normal Singaporean, a normal person is wake up, you know, your breakfast, and then you go to work, come back with your family, and then just live the normal life. I remember that year I went for 6 job interviews, and every time when I fill in that form, they will ask questions like, do you have any criminal records? I say yes. And then they will tell me to go back and wait for the phone call, and the phone call will never come. So that year I realized one thing in our society, you know, there's this lapse where once you have a criminal record, you will not be able to integrate back to society. I told myself that year, if one day I'm going to be a business owner. I never thought I would be a chef, you know. And I say, I told myself, if one day I'm going to be a business owner, I want to hire this group of people. That was in 1993. So now it's 2014, I look back. Right now I have more than 100 employees at the moment. And 40% of my workers are from this group of people, drug addicts, ex-convicts, and youth families. So if you walk into my restaurant, you'll be served by a man, a guy, or a girl with full of tattoo. Don't be surprised. So that is how I started. You know, how I run this restaurant. 18 Chefs was founded in 2007. Prior to that, in 2006, I have an opportunity to go over to UK and work with Jamie Oliver in his restaurant 15. So when I came back, and I just wanted to to start a restaurant, hiring this group of people, and that's where Initial was born. And as I say, after all these years, at the moment I have 5 outlets. 2 of them are franchised locally, and then 3 owned by us. Total we have about 100, slightly more than 100 workers. Yeah, this is part of my story. Do you have any question that you want to ask me?
Shall I kick it off with a couple of questions?
Yeah.
So, it's a pretty incredible story. I mean, bearing in mind that you were in prison for, you said, about 10 years of your life in and out.
10 over years.
Yeah. What was it that, you said that you came out and then you suddenly decided that you wanted to turn your life around.
Yes.
What was the inspiration that made you decide that you wanted to turn your life around? And how did you hold on to that?
Okay, every time when I come out from prison, I tell myself, okay, I don't want to go in anymore. I really want to get myself away from drugs. But every time when I see drug in front of me, literally my knees will wobble. You know, I would just go forward and then look for drugs, and it was for many years and many times. This is the kind of pattern in my life. So when I was not in the prison, I would be in one of the rehab centers in Singapore, and then my whole life was actually involved around drugs, rehab, drugs, prison, and yes. And if you ask me what is that turning point, I would say that the last trip that was when I was released in 1993. So I remember in 1992 something happened when I was in prison, and that year I became a Christian. I think that is the most change. I mean, I felt that I need some higher power to help me overcome this drug addiction. So I tried many times by myself. I failed. So I need some higher power. So in 1992, I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior. And then when I came out in 1993, until today, I have not given in to any temptations of drugs. I've never given in. For 1 year, I'm drug free. Yes.
And when you decided, I mean, I really agree with entrepreneurship being a way of mobilizing yourself. When you feel like you don't have any other options, I mean, we have, the domestic workers over here that go to either to use entrepreneurship to break free of poverty. Your restaurant, your social enterprise is actually helping people through your entrepreneurship to actually be re-employed. How did you convince people that you could actually build a credible business? Because you had partners and investors when you started your business.
Okay, when I returned from UK in 2006, there's a lot of write-up about me from the media. They were saying that I'm the first Singaporean that actually works in Germany. The other part, I know that I'm the only Asian that actually works in this kitchen. So I'm not educated. So if you ask me to go and write a business proposal to the investor, I will not be able to. So the media helps, and then a lot of business people approach me to see whether they want, whether I want to start a food business. So I particularly chose this group, which till now I'm still with this group. It's not an easy partnership. I mean, right now you can see the glamorous part of 80 chefs, long queues, and restaurants every night a full house. I mean, this is the part that you are actually seeing. During the first couple of years, I am in a very difficult. When you are new, when you have a new restaurant, when you have a new business, nobody knows about you. So if Singaporean with $10 in the pocket, if we walk around McDonald's, they know that $10 is enough for a McDonald's burger. So if you're a new restaurant, nobody wants to try your food out. So 2007, when I started, it's not the year of the Facebook, if you remember clearly. It's the years of the blogger. So our target audience are young people. So young people, when they come to your restaurant, either they will carry a camera phone and take pictures, or some richer kids will have a camera in the back and then take a couple of pictures and they blog. So that is the time where we have a lot of good reviews. People get to know us. Our first outlet is in Simei, East Point Mall. If you know Singapore well, we're talking about Simei, East Point Mall. Nobody knows where is. If you ask Singaporeans where is Tampines 1 or Tampines Mall, they are more familiar. So doing food business is better there. So I started with a restaurant, 689 square feet, slightly larger than this. I remember my first month, the revenue was 20 over thousand, which is very bad. So after a couple of years, it goes up to slightly over 100K with the 689 square feet. So 2008, there was the second year. Second year, if you remember 2008, economic crisis, Lehman Brothers, a lot of food business are not doing well. And we are doing very well because I guess we price our menu of food very affordable. So we are doing a good business in 2008, where actually a lot of food business are not doing well. So 2009, the third year, we actually began to expand our business for the sake of expanding. And we actually lost a lot of money in the 2009. And only the second half of the 2010, we began to pick up our business, and we closed a couple of outlets because 2009 we expand for the sake of expansion. So 2012, 2013, last year we are doing very well. This year we are doing extremely well. And then I got 2 more outlets coming up. You might ask why you are expanding so fast now. And I would say that in Singapore, one of the biggest challenge for F&B players are rental. So with our 18 Chefs brand, we in the past we usually beg the landlord to give us a space to rent out a space to actually operate our business. Now they're looking for us because we are able to draw crowds to the mall. So we can leverage on quite a low rental. So why not expand? And the second most important thing doing business in Singapore is manpower. I don't know whether you agree with me. And we actually don't really face much of manpower. 7 years ago, we already started to hire ex-convicts. To me, they are the untapped resources, for employment. So we do not have any problem. I have one outlet is about 20 over workers, 20 over employees. So if I can get good renters and I do not have much problem hiring, why not I expand? And I believe that we have found a formula, how to run a successful restaurant business, and at the moment it's 100% profitable. Even my franchisee, the first month is talking about profits. I have an outlet just near, at Sydney Leisure, 1,005 square feet. It takes me 6 months to recover all my investment. The one at Ang Mo Kio Harbour is nearly twice the size of this. It takes me 5 months to recover all my investment.
A pretty fast return on investment, but I think one of the things that I can see from Facebook, so you talked about no Facebook a while ago, but I noticed that you're pretty strong on Facebook now as a person, as an individual.
Yes.
You really leveraged, despite the fact that a lot of people might want to cover up some of their past, if it's not necessarily what is deemed to be desirable in the eyes of sort of society, you've really leveraged the truth, like all of the truth. Like you've come out with it because of the way that it happened when you went back to 18 Chefs, you leveraged the media, and now you're really leveraging some of the things that have happened to you to actually raise the profile of your journey and your brand and other people that are in a similar place. You have a book coming out.
Yes.
So I saw the cover of the book. It's exactly like this.
Yes, I have a book coming up in late October. It will be sold at various major bookstores, and it's also featured at the Singapore Writer Festival. And in the book, I'll share with my readers the journey I have been through, and about the business aspect, because I realized that in Singapore, a lot of young graduates, when they come out from university, they want to change the world, they want to be social entrepreneurs. So I actually pick a lot of mistakes along the way, and then I share all my mistakes with my readers. Hopefully they can pick up some of the tips, and along the way they may not actually follow the wrong footstep that I've made, and then yes, I'll share with my readers how to run a successful restaurant in Singapore.
Does anyone have any questions?
I'm intrigued about your relationship with your franchisees. Your history and your approach gives you quite a specific approach to your hiring and hiring of ex-convicts. Are your franchisees applying the same approach, or are they less inclined to do so?
Okay, if you carry the brand of 18 Chef, definitely you need to hire a certain amount. If you are new, I would not want to give you much KPI that you need to hire how many. But in Singapore, if you're going to run a restaurant, we're talking about 15 to 25 workers, depending on the size of your restaurant. You could not hire much Singaporeans. To be very honest, that our government is closing that immigration tag. We're talking about foreign workers. The government is tightening every year. So your quota is going to be down, and then at the end of the day, the foreign workers are not going to get their passes to work in Singapore. So if you look around, most of the restaurants now, they are following this footstep of hiring ex-convicts. Is the best decision they could have made. But I have been hiring this group of people 7 years ago. Because right now the government is taking it very seriously and not allowing too much of foreigners to work in Singapore, and then the other alternative is to hire ex-convicts. And I can tell you that my best workers, they are the ex-convicts. And recently I have a case where one of my managers in my Ang Mo Kio outlet, that was 3 months ago, and he took away my 1 day of takings, the cash takings minus the credit cards and nets. It was $10,000. The next day come and say I used up the money. The ironic part is he's not an ex-convict. I told him that my ex-convict will never do this to me.
What an inspiring story. How have you managed to deal with some of these employees? Because obviously they come with their own baggage, right? So is there a mentoring, rehabilitation element that you have to put in to make it work? Or do you think that by the time they come out, they're kind of ready and willing and able to reintegrate into a normal job?
Okay, when I started my first restaurant, I don't know that HR department is so important. Until when I grow the business, and then I have a team of HR people that actually, they are not the normal HR, they have to do counseling too. So in my restaurant I have groomed a lot of ex-convicts. Some of them are my managers, some of them are my head chefs. So in another word, I'm actually handling the whole restaurant for an ex-convict to run for me. So I give a scenario where a young prisoner came out of prison. He thought he was the most terror. And then when you walk into, you see the manager, wow, he has 20 years in and out of prison. I mean, ex-convict, if a delinquent will look up to that, I mean, if you are a professor or whatever, he will not listen to you. But the manager is an ex-convict, with many years of jail term, you know. So that kind of looking up to the one that is the next working. You know, if he can make it up to be a manager, I think one day I'll become a manager. That kind of. So I have a strong HR team. I have a good team. I would say that actually I can go for holiday for 2-3 months. They will run the business for me. I have an operation manager, which recently we promoted him to be executive director, giving some shares. And then it's run by, I have a HR team, marketing team, operation team to do training with my staffs, and then marketing. And then every restaurant is managed by a manager, assistant manager, supervisors, and you know, so it's very well structured. So one thing about 80 Chef, not only because you know, if you're ex-convict, I will still pay you market rates. I pay you, if not much better than market rate. And usually, if you hear of F&B industry, you work 12-14 hours. You know, all my workers at 80 Chef work 8 hours a day. So if they come early, they go back early. So if they come in the afternoon, they will do closing. So every worker works 8 hours a day. And we pay them very market rate. We create a career path for them. And this year we won the TAFEP award, which is given by the Ministry of Manpower. They did an audit at all our restaurants, and then they find that we have one of the best. I mean, we treat our employees very fairly, and then we were awarded with this tripartite, something, you know, the TAFEP awards.
A slight tangent. Heart attack fried rice. That is one of your best-selling dishes. Who came up with that brand? Is that your idea?
Okay, the heart attack fried rice is not my idea. I made it first. I ate it in one of the restaurants, which cost about $60 over, which is not the normal Singaporean can afford. So I make it more affordable. You know, for one person, you spend less than $15, you can have the heart attack fried rice. You know, so I came up with another one. That one is mine. It's called a double bypass fried rice. A double bypass. Double bypass. It's one of the best sellers. I mean, in Singapore, I realized the consumer mindset is. The consumer mindset of Singaporean is if you tell them fried food is bad for your health, they will order fish and chips. And then I came up with this double bypass, and I have a disclaimer too, which is printed on the poster. It may cause sudden cardiac arrest, and that is one of my best ones. So it's Gina's best favorite dish.
Well, Bobby and I went to 18 Chefs for our anniversary this year, and we had the double bypass fried rice. Double bypass version. It is huge. They actually fed both of us, and we took it home and brought it home for the kids as well. It really is great. But I think it's really fantastic the way that you just label everything that you do the way that it is. And I think it goes against pretty much what we're told, right? You always have to wrap everything up into something prettier and something more acceptable and make it look like it's something that we should be having. But actually, I think it's really incredible how you've done it the opposite way, and you've become a real success from that. Something that's very close to my heart is being authentic, and I think you're one of the most authentic people I've ever met. And I'm really grateful that you would come and share today. We're really looking forward to your book. Will you come back and you have your book? It's always good to put them on the spot in front of everyone. Does anyone have one last question? Do you want to know the recipe of the heart attack fried rice? Yeah. Because Benny actually posted it up on Facebook the other day. Was that the real recipe?
Yes, it's a real recipe, yes. You know, if you walk into my outlets at this Sea Leisure, I put all the recipe on the wall. Yeah. So if you ask me how to do this, I look at the wall, you get the recipe. So in my restaurant, we don't have a central kitchen. And every kitchen, we have a recipe book. So any of the new factories or ex-convict, you know, with normal intelligence, with an iPhone 5, do not need an iPhone 6. Just to take a picture and you get all the recipe. you know, and if you can replicate it and start a small business in the food court or restaurant, I will be very, very happy. That if I can generate entrepreneur in our own, I think that I will be very honored. So there is no secrets, you know, like the Chinese master, where you know a couple of recipes, will keep it to his grave. Until he died, he will not let anyone know. So the 18 Chef, all our recipes, sometimes, you know, I'll post it on our Facebook. And if you want more recipe, go to the Sydney Leisure outlet and just look on the wall. It's a recipe wall.
Huge round of applause for Chef Ellis. Thank you so much.